Thunder split the heavens as ancient seals shattered in silence, and beneath the trembling sky, destinies long entombed in darkness stirred once more. What had slumbered for 10,000 years was awakening, and neither mortal schemes nor divine treasures would halt the storm now rising. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. The woman in black flicked her sleeve, and a pair of shears shot forth in a streak of molten gold, cleaving through the air with resolute intent. Plainly, she meant to sever the cocoon of ghost fiend threads and wrest old man Fu back from death's tightening grasp. Han Li watched from afar, a faint crease forming between his brows. He could have intervened had fate placed him but a little nearer. Yet the distance between them was like an uncrossable gulf. Bung! Just as the shears neared their target, a green silhouette burst from the earth below, surging upward in a blur. It intercepted the attack before the cocoons, a crimson hand carving through the void. Several blood-red claw streaks tore across the air, colliding with the golden shears and forcing them back. At first, all believed it to be the silver-winged Night Fiend. But when the radiance faded, shock rippled through them like a cold wind. The figure bore a wolf's head upon a man's body, its scarlet eyes burning with savage intelligence. It was the corpse wolf, yet no longer merely a beast. By some unfathomable art, it had assumed human form. Now it stood before the cocoons, its gaze fixed upon the woman in black, brimming with naked malice. Han Li's eyes, however, narrowed at another detail. The Umbra Yin horse had vanished. Had it burrowed beneath the earth? Or was it lurking elsewhere, concealed by some insidious art? Blue light flickered within Han Li's pupils as his bright sight spirit eyes activated. He cast his gaze downward, and his expression changed abruptly. "Behind you," he shouted, alarm cracking through his composure. At the same instant, his fingers flicked. An azure streak of sword chi tore through the air, racing toward the woman. Her heart trembled at his cry. Without hesitation, she pointed sharply at the small azure shield hovering before her. It flashed behind her in a blur as she poured all her magic power into the dharmic wheel above. 7-colored radiance cascaded down, reinforcing her protective barrier in layered brilliance. Yet the moment her defenses solidified, a golden silhouette flickered into being at her back. The silver-winged Night Fiend. He had changed. Gone was the coarse green fur of before. In its place, faint golden scales clad his body, each one glimmering with muted luster. His silver wings now shimmered with azure-white light, and even his once stark silver eyes bore irises tinged with gold. Most chilling of all, no corpse chi emanated from him. In truth, he seemed devoid of chi altogether, like a hollow existence, severed from the breath of heaven and earth. The instant he appeared, he raised an arm. It swelled, grotesquely surging several times its former size. Pitch-black claws flared with golden light as they slashed downward. The azure shield expanded at once, growing several-fold and blazing with stalwart radiance, a bastion of defiance. But the Night Fiend didn't so much as pause. His golden-clad arm passed through the shield as though it were nothing more than a phantom, continuing onward to the woman's reinforced barrier. A sharp, resounding crack split the air. The golden claws trembled, then tore through the 7-colored barrier as if rending silk. A wet, dreadful sound followed. The claws pierced her chest, crushing her heart, and burst through her back in a spray of crimson. Han Li's heart sank. The moment the corpse thing had drawn near, her calamity had become inevitable. Only then did his azure sword chi arrive, but with a single beat of the Night Fiend's wings. Azure white radiance swallowed it whole, dissolving it into nothingness. Yet Han Li's strike had not been futile. That fleeting distraction had bought her a sliver of time. Red light flared from the crown of her head. Her nascent soul emerged, clutching an inch-long sword, its tiny face pale with terror. In a flash, it teleported over 30 meters away. Then again, and again. Each leap tore her farther from death's shadow. For a breath it seemed she might escape. The silver-winged Night Fiend only smiled a thin, sinister curl of his lips. He cast aside the woman's corpse as though discarding refuse, and his form dissolved into wind. A faint silhouette reappeared beside the fleeing nascent soul. Grey threads sprayed from his mouth, weaving a net that ensnared her just as she prepared another teleportation. "Please save me." Her desperate cry echoed across the battlefield. She swung her tiny sword wildly at the net, but severed from her body, her strength was pitiful. The blade rebounded uselessly. The Night Fiend extended a hand. A grey spectral palm manifested, plucking the nascent soul from the net with cold precision. In the blink of an eye, a foot-long grey cocoon formed, sealing her within. It hovered in the air, silent and final. When his figure fully solidified once more, the Night Fiend's golden-tinged eyes turned from the cocoon to Han Li. A chilling laugh spilled from his lips. "I thought you would attempt to save her," he drawled. "It seems you are not as selfless as I believed." Han Li's expression remained tranquil, his voice even. "Had I the means, I would have. But to rush into your snare, that would serve only your design. You may as well dispel that enormous net above." The Night Fiend's eyes flickered with faint surprise. "So you saw through it?" 30 meters overhead, a vast grey net shimmered into visibility so exquisitely concealed that none without extraordinary perception could have detected it. Were it not for Han Li's well-cultivated bright-sight spirit eyes, the trap would have remained unseen. Even so, he doubted he would have intervened. This new form of the silver-winged Night Fiend was profoundly unsettling. His wind movement technique had reached a realm akin to obscuring wind flow, his presence blending seamlessly with the currents of air. Without spirit eyes, he would have been no more than a whisper in the void, and that strike, effortlessly piercing layered defenses, had left even Han Li inwardly shaken. The demon gave a cold snort and beckoned. The corpse wolf flew to his side in an instant, glaring at Han Li with venomous hostility. But from below came a thunderous howl. The weeping soul beast pounded its chest, the earth quaking beneath its display of might. During the prior clash, it had remained restrained under Han Li's command, forced to watch in silence. Now, with the corpse wolf before it, it unleashed its presence without reserve. The wolf's fierce expression faltered. Terror flickered across its face under the beast's baleful gaze. The Night Fiend's expression darkened. He spat out a grey pearl and flicked it into the wolf's mouth. The moment it swallowed, thick corpse chi billowed from its body, suppressing its fear. Han Li, meanwhile, cast a glance at the masterless azure shield. It hovered silently, its surface dim yet pristine. A thought stirred in his mind as his gaze shifted to the faint golden scales cloaking the Night Fiend. Sudden realization dawned in his eyes. Before he could act on it, the silver-winged Night Fiend threw back his head and released a long, piercing screech. His body blurred, dissolving into wind once more. The corpse wolf snarled and spat a torrent of corpse flame downward at the weeping soul beast. The beast responded with a disdainful snort, expelling a cloud of dense yellow light. The wolf multiplied into numerous blurred after-images, circling warily, daring not to enter the yellow mist. Though smaller and swifter, it did not rashly approach. The weeping soul beast exhaled more yellow light, thickening the mist into a protective shroud. Its colossal fists swept wildly through the air, each swing covering a vast expanse. Should even one strike land, the wolf would suffer grievously. Thus the two beasts fell into a stalemate. High above Han Li and the silver-winged Night Fiend blurred across the heavens. Arcs of lightning erupted from Han Li's back, thunder rolling ceaselessly as he shifted without pattern, west to east, in a breath sky to earth in an instant. Yet the Night Fiend pursued relentlessly. His form seemed nearly incorporeal, riding unseen currents. He clung to Han Li's lightning like a shadow to flame. Gradually, Han Li felt the pressure mount. The Night Fiend's wind movement was swifter, subtly, inexorably closing the gap. Now, each time Han Li vanished, the demon appeared the moment he re-emerged. When Han Li blurred once more, he did not flee. Instead, he pointed toward the snow crystal pearl before him. It spun violently, unleashing a vast sea of purple flames that roared outward, engulfing him in blazing splendor. At the same time, dozens of small golden swords shot forth, forming a radiant barrier of swordlight over 30 meters wide. With his defenses arrayed, Han Li fixed his gaze 20 meters away. The air warped. A faint silhouette surfaced from distortion, the Night Fiend. Purple flames surged. Golden swordlight converged. They encircled him. Han Li raised his hand. Thunder answered. A dense bolt of lightning coiled around his arm, writhing like a celestial python eager to strike. The Night Fiend sensed the danger. The golden scales across his body flared brilliantly. In an instant, a dazzling barrier of pure gold enveloped him. Then the world exploded. Swordlight shrieked. Purple flames raged. Lightning roared with heaven-splitting fury. Blinding radiance swallowed the golden barrier whole, submerging the silver-winged Night Fiend beneath an onslaught fit to sunder the firmament itself. Leaving thunder in his wake, Han Li flickered over 60 meters away. When his figure reformed, lightning still crackling faintly about his sleeves, he turned toward the maelstrom of light with a grave expression. Through the blinding eruptions, his bright-sight spirit eyes pierced unimpeded. The bamboo cloud-swarm swords tempered with auric essence, honed to a sharpness that could cleave mountains, should have been unstoppable. Yet when their golden arcs struck the silver-winged Night Fiend's radiant barrier, they were rebuffed with startling ease. It was as though an unseen force deflected them before true contact could even be made, like leaves brushed aside by an invisible gale. As for the python of divine devilbane lightning, coiling and striking with heaven-rending force, it shook the golden barrier violently arcs, splitting the air in savage brilliance. But despite the ferocity of its assault, the barrier remained unmarred, not so much as a crack marring its surface. Only the purple flames were different. A chill gleam surfaced in Han Li's eyes. Within the golden radiance, a vast mass of faintly purple ice had formed thick, crystalline, and deathly cold. It clung to the barrier, spreading frost in creeping tendrils, slowly freezing the golden light from the outside in. The Night Fiend remained safe within, yet unmistakable astonishment flickered across his face. He had not anticipated that the purple flames would harbor such terrifying potency. Still, the ice encased only his barrier, not his body. Escape, therefore, was simplicity itself. The silver-winged Night Fiend pressed both palms against the golden shell. It flared with countless radiant beams piercing through the encasing frost and opening a slender fissure. With a resonant crack, the purple ice began to fracture, splintering apart in jagged shards. Han Li's heart trembled. With a swift wave of his sleeve, he recalled his flying swords. They shot back to him in streaks of gold, circling protectively at his side. Moments later, the Night Fiend blurred and reappeared beyond the crumbling prison of ice. His gaze sharp as drawn steel, fixed upon Han Li. Raising one hand, he summoned a sphere of dazzling golden light in a breath. Only then did Han Li speak, his tone calm but edged with certainty. I am now convinced. Beyond earth and wind movement techniques, you wield metal attribute arts as well. Such abilities are exceedingly rare among cultivators. Legends claim that only gold-clad lunar corpses, refined to an extraordinary degree, can command such techniques. Could it be you have already begun to evolve? As he spoke, his eyes lingered upon the faint golden scales lining the Night Fiend's body. The demon's expression shifted surprise, flashing briefly before melting into a cold, malicious grin. I began my evolution 10,000 years ago, he replied with chilling pride. Had you all fought me together from the outset, perhaps you might have stood a chance. But now, you stand alone, a solitary tree before a tempest. His wings unfurled with a languid motion, shedding their former disguise. The silver sheen faded, revealing feathers suffused with a pale golden glow. An overwhelming surge of heavenly ki erupted from him, rolling outward in waves so forceful that even the surrounding light barrier trembled. Han Li narrowed his eyes. The pressure bore down upon him like a collapsing sky. This spiritual aura surpassed even that of late nascent soul cultivators. The three grand cultivators of the heavenly south paled in comparison. Only the two elder devils he had encountered within Devilfall Valley had exuded a similar oppressive force. Though inwardly shaken, Han Li's face remained composed. "Even if your evolution has begun," he said evenly, "you are still imprisoned in this skyless realm. Without Moon Yin essence, your transformation can never reach completion. At best, you wield but a superficial command of metal attribute techniques. Unless confronted with treasures refined from metal-attributed materials, you cannot truly exert their power." As he spoke, his thoughts flicked to the black-robed woman's azure shield and to his own flying swords. In this era, nearly every magic treasure bore some measure of metal within its refinement. That realization weighed heavily. The Night Fiend chuckled darkly. "Is that so? Then allow me to enlighten you." He lifted one hand, condensing a sphere of blinding golden light that throbbed like a miniature sun. With the other, he swept his arm skyward, releasing beams of grey radiance toward the dried corpses chained to the surrounding stone pillars. In the blink of an eye, the beams sank into the corpses without a trace. Han Li's heart sank. He could not intercept the spell in time. Chains clattered to the ground in echoing metallic clinks. One by one, the desiccated corpses raised their heads. Dark green flames flickered within hollow eye sockets. With stiff, unsteady movements, they shuffled forward toward Han Li. When they halted, they stared at him in utter silence, devoid of all emotion. The Night Fiend stood tall, arrogance radiating from him. "These incarnations were refined with baleful corpse chi," he declared coldly. "You have no hope of victory. Offer your life obediently, and perhaps I shall spare you the agony of having your soul refined." Han Lan regarded the ring of corpses quietly. After a long moment he exhaled. "I truly did not expect to have cause to use this treasure," he murmured. "Whether misfortune belongs to you or to me remains to be seen." With that he struck an exquisitely crafted storage pouch at his waist. A gust of wind stirred. A fist-sized orb of light shot forth, circling him once before settling into his palm. The Triflame fan, fashioned from radiant feathers several inches long, gold-silver, and crimson, its surface was layered with dense talismanic markings and intricate spirit patterns. Spiritual light shimmered across it in shifting hues, and whenever multiple inscriptions flared in unison, the sight was mesmerizing, as though countless stars had awakened upon its surface. Even as Han Li revealed the treasure, the silver-winged Night Fiend completed his incantation and moved first. With a shout, he hurled the sphere of golden light skyward. It spun, violently erupting into countless radiant beams. The beams sharpened into golden needles, each one gleaming with lethal brilliance. After circling once around the sphere, they descended upon Han Li like a storm of falling suns. Golden light flooded the heavens. Yet Han Li did not retreat. Below him, the dried corpses moved in eerie unison. Their skeletal hands rose, weaving innumerable ghost fiend threads together near the ground. In an instant, a colossal grey net formed beneath him and surged upward to entrap him. Baleful chi churned within it in terrifying density. Any ordinary cultivator would have found their magic power disrupted and their body seized merely by drawing near. But Han Li's physique, once corroded by baleful chi and tempered through the bright jade arts, remained unaffected. Even so, the sheer force with which the net closed in startled him. His expression hardened. He clasped his hands, and the Triflame fan expanded instantly to a full meter in length. Gripping it with one hand, Han Li poured the entirety of his magic power into the treasure and swung it with resolute force. What followed nearly made him falter. The fan devoured his magic power in a ravenous surge, draining him so abruptly that he almost cast it away in alarm. Only after consuming the vast majority of his reserves did it finally cease. A resonant phoenix cry split the heavens. The fan trembled, and from its surface surged a torrent of tri-colored flame. The fire condensed mid-air, forming a majestic phoenix over a meter wide, its plumage woven of gold-silver and crimson light. Han Li stared in astonishment. He had intended to swing the fan again against the golden needles, but his depleted magic power rendered such thoughts impossible. Instead, his flying swords erupted in golden brilliance, whirling about him in elegant arcs. Their motion wove together into the image of a blooming lotus petals of light unfurling in layered defense. Not stopping there, he spat a mouthful of blood essence onto the snow crystal pearl overhead. The pearl shuddered violently. Deep purple flames burst forth colder, darker, more profound than before. Under his hastily formed spell seal, the flames encircled him nimbly, crackling as the temperature plummeted with suffocating intensity. In the next instant, the flames solidified into a towering wall of ice 30 meters high and 3 meters thick, glowing with eerie violet radiance and enclosing him within. The golden needles struck. With each impact, gold and purple light flared violently. Clear, ringing sounds echoed as countless needles bored into the wall, gouging holes several inches deep. Specks of golden light glittered across its surface like fallen stars. Though nearly a foot of ice was shredded away, the barrier held barely. Hanli's heart tightened. Unbeknownst to him, the Night Fiend was equally stunned. The golden needles were not conjured from replenishable chi. They had been painstakingly refined over millennia from a rare fragment of unknown metal, tempered ceaselessly in corpse flames. Their penetrative force far surpassed that of ordinary needle-type treasures. Yet here they were checked by a mere wall of ice. He could not know that the flames Han Li had summoned through blood essence were no ordinary purple apex flames. They were a strand of refined ice flame essence, painstakingly purified with the aid of the snow crystal pearl after consuming the snow soul pills. Their frigid power far exceeded his previous flames, though they demanded an equally terrible toll in magic power. Below, the tri-colored phoenix descended upon the colossal grey net. The net flashed, unleashing a torrential volley of ghost fiend threads that enveloped the phoenix in an instant, smothering it in layers of writhing grey silk. The phoenix cried out clear and melodious. It circled once in mid-air, leaving behind rings of luminous halos. Within those halos, tri-colored radiance pulsed rhythmically. Profound talismanic characters bloomed into existence, cascading in resplendent patterns of gold, silver, and red. When the ghost fiend threads surged into those halos, an inconceivable transformation occurred. Within the radiant halos encircling the tri-colored phoenix, the vast torrent of ghost fiend threads quivered violently as though seized by an invisible hand before dissolving into drifting wisps of grey smoke. In that instant, the phoenix revealed its true might. Its wings unfurled in a majestic sweep, and its body collapsed inward, transforming into a colossal sphere of tri-colored fire. The luminous halos around it pulsed, once then expanded abruptly, surging outward in all directions. A magnificent wheel of light took form within the encroaching net of ghost fiend threads, a vast disk woven of gold, crimson and argent brilliance. Talismanic characters of countless shapes and sizes roamed across its surface, each glyph ancient and profound, emanating an awe that seemed to press upon the soul itself. Both Han Li and the silver-winged Night Fiend were momentarily transfixed. Bathed in that resplendent glow, the great wheel of light vanished with a single pulse. In the next breath, the 100-meter-wide net of ghost fiend threads was gone, as well erased from existence as though it had never been. The silver-winged Night Fiend instinctively fanned his wings, his expression blank with disbelief. That net had embodied nearly the entirety of the baleful corpse chi he had painstakingly cultivated over countless years. Now only a pitiful remnant remained, barely sufficient to maintain control over his corpse incarnations. As for launching any meaningful attack, that was no longer possible. One wave of a fan, countless centuries of labor obliterated. A chill crept into his heart. Had he been caught within that tri-colored wheel of light, his destruction would have been certain. What unsettled him most was that the flames within that wheel had not altered the surrounding temperature in the Yani slightest. They did not burn, nor freeze, nor scorch. They operated according to laws beyond this world. Within that strike lingered the faintest thread of cosmic power, an authority that should belong only to deity. Transformation cultivators, though he had never encountered a true gold-clad lunar corpse in its prime. The silver-winged Night Fiend had endured 10,000 years within this realm. His experience was vast, and he recognized terror when he felt it. What treasure does he wield? How can it be so monstrous? Had he possessed a suitable top-grade treasure, he would not have been so utterly helpless before that attack. Yet since gaining consciousness, he had remained imprisoned within this grand formation, deprived of the opportunity to refine true supreme artifacts. Only when cultivators wandered into this cavern had he been able to transform them into corpse fiend incarnations, thus expanding his range of action. He had seized many treasures from those he slaughtered, yet none had impressed him save the evil moon mirror. It alone had been of passable quality, and he had invested immense time and effort into refining it, unlocking numerous unique abilities tied to its power. That was why its destruction at Han Li's hands had driven him into such fury. Meanwhile, above, the unceasing rain of golden needles had already chewed through nearly half of Han Li's towering ice wall. Faced with such relentless assault, Han Li made a swift decision. With a flick of his sleeve, he produced a small jade bottle from his storage pouch and poured a single drop of myriad-year spirit milk into his mouth. Warmth flooded his meridians instantly. Abundant magic power surged through him like a roaring river breaking its banks. He stowed the bottle away and lifted his gaze toward the distant Night Fiend, eyes cold as frost. Tightening his grip on the Triflame fan, he spun it lightly in his hand. Radiant light blossomed once more across its surface. Densely layered talismanic characters flickered in awakening brilliance. This time, he intended to end it. Fortunately, the silver-winged Night Fiend was confined within this sealed domain. However fearsome his evasion techniques, he could not escape the boundaries of the light barrier surrounding them. No matter how devastating the strike, so long as it landed, the outcome would be decided. Across the battlefield, the Night Fiend's expression shifted visibly. Fear. Within the confined space of the barrier, the sheer range of the fan's previous attack left him with no avenue of escape. He would have to endure it head-on. Cursing inwardly, he clenched his teeth and pointed sharply at the golden sphere, still suspended in the sky. It ceased emitting rays at once and shot down into his body with a crackling flash. A dense layer of sparkling golden light immediately enveloped him, solid and impenetrable. At the same time, he opened his mouth and exhaled a cloud of pitch-black corpse chi, its depths shimmering with inky radiance. The dark vapor coiled and merged seamlessly into his golden barrier, reinforcing it further. Seeing this, Han Li let out a faint, cold chuckle. He began channeling the entirety of his replenished magic power into the Triflame fan. But at that very moment, the grand spell formation beneath them trembled violently. The entire light barrier shuddered. Its surface flickered wildly, then vanished in a sudden flash of grey. The abrupt disruption forced Han Li to halt mid-motion. Before he could grasp what had occurred, the earth surrounding the formation split apart. Blinding light burst forth from below. Nearly 100 embedded spirit stones flared simultaneously, fusing with the original formation and reshaping it into something entirely new. Han Li's pupils contracted. Recognition dawned almost instantly. A massive teleportation formation was activating. His heart sank. Who knew where such a formation might send them? Without hesitation, he dispelled the ice wall. Thunder roared as lightning erupted from his back. He attempted to flee the range of the formation, but he was too late. The formation emitted a deep, resonant hum. Blinding white light exploded outward from its center, swallowing hundreds of meters in every direction. When the radiance faded, nothing remained. Han Li, the silver-winged Night Fiend, the other cultivators, all had vanished without a trace. Unbeknownst to the world, identical events unfolded simultaneously in 3 other obscure corners of Great Jin, each site imprisoning some unknown and terrifying entity. Far away in Nanjiang, high-grade cultivators of the Ye clan hovered above a small, tranquil lake, now anything but tranquil. Panic gripped them. A square-faced, middle-aged cultivator had seized an elderly man by the collar, his own complexion ashen with fury. "What is happening?" he roared. Weren't the concealment formations meant to hide the spectacle of the seal's destruction? Have they malfunctioned, or were they never activated at all? Cultivators within thousands of kilometers will witness this. They will converge here in droves. Our entire clan will be annihilated. Behind him, the other Ye clan cultivators looked equally grim. At the center of the lake, a pillar of pure white light, fully 100 meters across, shot straight into the heavens, piercing the clouds. 6 additional pillars of different colors spiraled around it, forming a breathtaking yet ominous spectacle. The white-haired old man, the Grandmaster responsible for dismantling the seal, trembled visibly. I do not know," he stammered. "I personally inspected the concealment formations yesterday and instructed my disciples to activate them at dawn. Second brother, release nephew Long." The voice that interrupted was calm, too calm. A Confucian scholar in his 30s floated nearby, clad in pristine white robes. His skin was flawless, his bearing refined. Yet his words were edged with ruthless steel. "He has labored meticulously to dissolve the seal. Immediately inspect the concealment formations. If they are dormant, activate them. If damaged, repair them at once. If the issue cannot be resolved swiftly." His eyes turned cold. "Then eliminate every cultivator within 1,000 kilometers." The square-faced cultivator immediately released the old man. The scholar turned his gaze to the other Ye clan elders. They bowed deeply. "Yes, Grand Elder." Without hesitation, they dispersed. The scholar then faced the white-haired elder once more. "The concealment formations have failed. What of the seal itself?" The emotionless tone made the old man shudder. "Grand Elder, the seal upon Kunwu Mountain has already begun to fracture. It weakens by the day. Within approximately 1 year, it should completely dissipate." The scholar nodded faintly. "Very well. Gather the lower-grade disciples at once and proceed to the designated refuge. Remain concealed. If anyone dares reveal themselves within this year," his voice grew glacial, "they will face clan punishment." The old man's heart quailed. He hastily acknowledged the order and descended toward the ground, vanishing from sight. The remaining cultivators gradually regained their composure, though tension lingered like a drawn bowstring. Before long, the nascent soul elders sent to investigate returned. Their faces were stricken with fury and alarm. "Grand Elder, the concealment formations have all been destroyed. The disciples overseeing them have vanished without a trace." The scholar's expression darkened instantly. A sharp, icy gleam ignited within his eyes. Around him, the Ye clan cultivators descended once more into unrest. The storm they had sought to hide was already upon them. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.